climbed out. Pedro, waving, shouting at the driver. Matt found himself standing at the foot of a hill where an ugly township, a tangle of bricks, spires spurred its way up the slope. He had never seen anything like it. His first impressions was that this was a community that had tumbled down the hillside, getting broken and jumbled up along the way. Then he realised that it had been built like this. It was a barrel of Chantai town, home to the poorest of the poor. As ever, Pedro was already moving. Matt followed him as he plunged into a maze of narrow streets, passageways, none of them paved, all of them covered in rubbish and other debris. Only now that he was in the middle of it all, did Matt see that less than half an hour the houses were built of brick. Most of them had been made of cardboard, corrugated iron, straw mats, plastic sheeting, of a mixture of all four. Plastic sheeting of all four. They come to a sort of square where a group of old women in bright swirls and bowler hats squirted beside a rusty oil drum that had been turned into a makeshift oven. They were cooking some sort of stew in evaporated milk cans that can had beaten flat and made into pans. A few scurry chickens pecked hopelessly at the rubble, and a dog. It was hard to be sure if it was alive or dead. Lay stretched out in the sun. There was a terrible smell of sewage. Matt covered his nose and mouth with his hand. He was amazed that anyone could live here. Yet Pedro barely seemed to notice it. Matt was aware of a woman looking at him. Curiously, he wondered what they must think. He was grubby and this but even so his clothes were new and expensive, certainly compared to what they were wearing in their eyes. He would be a rich European kid, and he doubted that many of those showed up around here. He nodded at them and hurried on after Pedro. They were climbing further up the hillside. The effect was haunting Matt's chest. He could feel his ribs aching, and he was beginning to wonder how long he could keep going when they arrived at a small brick building with two windows covered from the inside with some sort of sacking. Pedro cupped a hand, gesturing him to come in. Was this where he lived? Suddenly appearing, Matt followed him through the doorway. There was no door. He found himself in a square box-like space, and his eyes got used to the lack of light. He made out a wooden table, two chairs, a Christmas stove, the sort of thing he'd used to go camping, a few tins, and a low, narrow bed. When he saw that there was a man lying on the bed, Pedro was squirting beside him, taking exactly slow. The man sat up. He was about 6 years old, wearing a suit that looked about the same age he had slept in it, and the material was terribly crumpled. crumpled a man crumpled inside. Was this where he lived? Suddenly appearing, Matt followed him through the doorway. There was no door. He found himself in a square box-like space, and his eyes got used to the lack of light. He made out a wooden table, two chairs, a prison stove, the sort of thing he used to go camping, a few tins, and a low, narrow bed. Then he saw that there was a man lying on the bed. Pedro was squatting beside him, taking it slow. The man sat up. He was about 6 years old, wearing a suit that looked about the same age he had slept in it, and the material was terribly crumpled. Nearly at the bottom, buttons were missing, and his shirt hung outside his trousers. He was unshaven, with grey stubble spreading around a mouth that was thin and rather cruel. The man's eyes were bloodshot and Slay. For a long minute he said nothing at all, looking at Matt as if he was weighing him, trying to work out what he might be worth. He whipped his mouth with the back of his hand and swallowed. Then at least he spoke. "Welcome," he said. It was the first friendly word of English Matt had heard since he had been separate from Richard, and he felt a flood of relief. But at the same time, examining the man, he began to wonder if his troubles were yet over. Certainly this wasn't the survivor he had been hoping for. "Pedro tells me that you're American," the man said. His English accent was unattractive, or maybe it was suspicious tones of his voice, the way he drawled the words. "No, I'm English," Matt said. "From England," the man assumed. "From London. I flew from London, but I live in a place called York." "York," he repeated the word, but had obviously never heard of it. "Pedro says that you are alone, that you were beaten by the police, that they were going to arrest you." "Yes, can you thank me for helping me? He doesn't not need your gratitude." "What makes you think he wants anything from you?" The man reached down beside the bed and produced a bottle half filled with some transparent liquid. He drank, and as he lowered it, Matt caught the whiff of alcohol. Next, he took out half a cigar from his jacket pocket and lit it. All the time his eyes never left the new arrival. Pedro says you have money," he said. Matt hesitated, but once again he knew he had no choice. He, he took out the £10 note and gave it to the man. The man turned the notes into his hands, then slid it into his jacket pocket. With a twitch of the lips that might have been a smile a moment later, he snapped something at Pedro. Pedro scowled. The man waited. Pedro slipped back watch off his wrist and handed it over. "What is your name?" the man asked. Once again Matt hesitated. What name should he use? But there was no point trying to pretend he was someone he wasn't. The fake passport had already proved itself to be useless. "I'm Matt," he said, "and I am Sebastian." The man blew out smoke. It hung in the air, slivery grey. "It seems that you need help, my friend. I haven't got any more money to give you." Matt mustered angrier. Your money and your watch will buy me food, but right now I think they are all no use to you. If you want them, take them and go. You will probably be dead or in jail before the sun comes down. But if you want my help, be polite to me. You are in my house, remember that. Matt bit his lip. Sebastian was right. The money was irrelevant. Who are you? He asked. What is this place? The community has a name, Sebastian replied. The local people call it Circuit de Janeiro in English. You would say poison town. They call it that because of the amount of diseases there is here. Ceroli, Bronticus, Prolus, Deportiara. None of us has any right to live in this place. We have stolen this land and built our homes, but the authorities never come here. They are too scared. Matt looked around, almost afraid to breathe. Don't worry, Matt. Sebastian smiled, showing two gold-capped teeth. There is no illness in this house, or in this street, and nobody understands why 9 of us live here, and there were 7 more next door. We have nothing, but we know our elf. Does Pedro live here? Pedro glanced up, hearing his name. Until now he had been examining Matt with a look of mistrust, but he had shown no interest in what was being said. He sleeps on the floor right where you are standing now. He works for me, he and the other children, but why are we wasting time talking about him? There are a million kids like him in Luma. They live, they die, they are all of no use at all, but an English boy in prison town. That is another matter. How do you come to be here, man? Why are the police looking for you? You must tell me everything, and then we will see how we can help. If we can help, if you want to, everything. Matt didn't know where to start. His history was a huge. It was swallowed up his life, and there did he begin with the death of his parents 6 years ago, or his environment with Ravensgate, and it was hopefully that Matt knew that he could talk all day and this man wouldn't believe a word of it. What was it? I can explain it to all you, he said. I come to Peru because something bad is about to happen, and there are people who thought I could stop it. There were 2 of us, me and my friend. His name is Richard Cole, and he's older than me. 25. Neither of us wanted to come here, but we were sent to stop this thing from happening. Yes, I have no passport. The passport I have was given is fake. It was meant to protect me, but the moment I arrived I was attacked. Richard was kidnapped and the police tried to arrest me. There was a police captain, he said. He was working for someone called Diego Salamander. Sebastian had been listening to all this with a look of puzzlement and disbelief. The mention of Salamander was the first thing to provide any any real reaction. His eyes narrowed, and he allowed a trickle of cigar smoke to escape from the corner of his mouth. "Salamander is," exclaimed. "Do you know who he is?" "Some sort of businessman. One of the richest men in South America, certainly the richest man in Peru. They say he was. He. They say he has some. They say he has more money than the rest of the population, but together with his mobile phone and his newspaper and his satellite, he raked a few words in Spanish at Pedro, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, leaning against the bed. Pedro shrugged. Then Sebastian turned back to Matt. "If I was going to have an enemy, he is not the man I would choose." "I think he chose me not one way," Matt said. "Then where can I find him? Why do you want to?" "Because I think he must have been the one who kidnapped my friend. He know we're coming. He got Richard first, and then he tried to get me." Sebastian raised the bottles to his lips and swallowed some. The alcohol must have been strong. Matt could smell it from where he was standing. But Sebastian drank it as if it was water. "Salamander News International is based in Lima," he said. They have offices all over Peru. What do you want to do? Do you want to visit all of them? It doesn't matter, because you won't find him here. He has his main research base near the town of Paracas. That's south of here, but he spends most of his time at a farm. What 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 we call a Arikanda near Isia. He is never seen in pol- in public. It is rumored that he is very ugly, that maybe he has three eyes or something wrong with his face. If you want to talk to Senior Salamander, you've got to Isia. I'm sure he will be delightful to see you." Matt ignored the sarcasm in Sebastian's voice. "Can you help me go there?" "No." "Then maybe I'll be wasting my time talking to you." Is that what you believe?" Sebastian started at Matt, and now he was angry. "We will let him give you some advice. Don't you worry about your time. Time is cheap." He stumbled out the cigar. "I must leave you here. Must leave you." He went on. There are things here I do not understand, and there are people I must talk with. Maybe I will help you, and maybe I won't be right now. I would say you need food. You need sleep. Can I sleep here?" Matt asked. He was too tired to eat. "You can sleep on the floor. There are blankets, not the bed. You understand? The bed is mine. You will be safe in this place. Later today we will talk again, and we will see what we can do." Sebastian said something to Pedro. Pedro nodded. The two of them left the building. It was evening when Matt woke up without his watch. He had no idea how long He had no idea how long he had been asleep, and the jet lag didn't help in England. He could have been breakfast time, dinner time, or whatever. It took him a couple of minutes to work some life back into his muscles, which were cramped from lying on the hard floor. At the same time, he tried to make sense of what had been happening, but that wasn't so easy. He was on his own, thousands of miles from home, stuck in a squalid room in a town that was even by name poison. He was the guest of a man he didn't much like, and a boy who had recently robbed him. The richest man in Peru wanted him dead, and it seemed that the police were only to achieve that aim. It was all too much that Matt closed his eyes and ground, and yet that was another strange thing. He was suddenly subscribe it well to like thank you. Click on my end screen, watch my thumb. Click on my end screen and my thumbnail. Subscribe it well to like thank you. Watch my videos from start to finish, thank you.